Does work lead to human flourishing? That is the question we're going to explore today. Welcome back to Liberty's Hill, where we explore the question, how can we create a world of human flourishing with liberty, justice, dignity, and prosperity? I'm Dr. Bill Brannan, a pastor in Liberty Hill, Texas. On a ministry trip to Africa, I mentioned to the church leaders that what they needed was a manufacturing plant. They told me that I was the first American minister who understood what they really needed. They needed jobs. While visiting a friend in another African nation that was starting schools in the country, I realized that common cultural values grounded in liberty is a precursor to industry. A man from outside the town moved there and started a lumber mill. He began hiring people to work at his mill, and as people started to earn a living, other shops started opening up. Then the locals began sabotaging his business, saying, "Who is this outsider coming to our town and becoming a big man?" They did not perceive the positive impact he was having on their community. They were motivated by jealousy. They did not have the values that lead to human flourishing, and that seems connected to a failure in education teaching virtue and the fundamentals of economics. I understand that economics, like any subject, becomes highly sophisticated as it is fully developed. But every subject is built upon interrelated ideas that are very easy to understand. One false economic idea that is common is that money is a pie. If someone has a lot of money, they have more than their fair share of the pie. I know it is an imperfect example, but I like to talk about it as a circulatory system pumping blood through the body, sustaining life. If we think about how wealth creation works at a basic level, someone sells a good or service to someone else and they make money. The velocity of that transaction plays a significant role in wealth. Let's say there's a $100 bill and within a week that bill changes hands 3 times between people providing a good or service. Now 3 people have made $100. Imagine if that bill changes hands 10 times in a week. Now 10 people have made $100. There's only one $100 bill, but more wealth is created as it travels faster through the economy. The question we need to ask economically is whether a transfer of wealth is happening because of a good or service that has been provided. If it is not, then in my analogy of a circulatory system, there is a blood clot. It is a fact that money circulates faster in the private sector than in the public sector. In addition, regulations always only restrict the flow of money. They may be necessary, but more so when there's a breakdown in education and self-government. That is not a discussion for today, but as food for thought, we need to think deeply about legitimate and necessary government expenditures to maximize human flourishing through wealth creation within the economy. One of many of the reasons for this is the negative impact the public sector has on the velocity of money. Regulators never add value. From my perspective, an education in good ideas and virtue is fundamental to liberty and flourishing. If productivity in goods and services produces wealth, then anything that restricts it stops the flow of wealth. Productivity is a blessing to our world, yet culture plays a major role in productivity. I once worked at a company where people worked hard not to work on the shop floor. I started working hard and people came to me and told me to cut it out because I was making them look bad. They spent most of the day complaining. Since they saw I had no intention to listen to them, they began working hard as well. I noticed that as everyone began working, they stopped complaining so much and began to have fun at work. When working hard, co-workers developed closer friendships and days went by faster. We began to be proud of the work we did, and it made us feel dignified even if we were not making a lot of money. The quality of people's lives increased, and that is an important aspect of human flourishing. Simply realizing that by being productive, we are being a blessing to the world adds significance to our lives. But that is a worldview issue. Without giving people good ideas and a love for virtue, we can feel like our lives have no meaning. That is devastating to human flourishing. Within the Christian worldview movement, there has been the rediscovery of ideas that have significantly increased people's quality of life. It begins with the realization that in the Garden of Paradise, man was given work and family. The Garden of Paradise is a great idea for a vision of human flourishing. When we build homes and cars, pump water into our homes and waste out of them, develop cures to diseases, or develop better methods of agriculture, when we build buildings and develop systems for people to buy food, we are using our God-given creativity to make a better world for human beings. It is all a form of gardening. We are rearranging what we find in nature to order it to be a blessing. The highest levels of human dignity and flourishing are achieved when we build a family culture rather than a slave culture in the workplace. Another interesting driver historically was the idea of dominion, that man was given dominion over the earth to serve the world, not to exploit it. In many Christian circles, that language is divisive because it has sometimes been hijacked by Christian movements that are contrary to the spirit and essence of Christianity. Historically, it was a driver to create a better world. Theologians recognized that when the world was broken in the fall, sweat and labor was part of the curse. The dream got into the hearts of people that we can move society to reflect the pre-fall world. In other words, that we can work to heal brokenness using our God-given reason and creative abilities. That dream drove many Christians into technology and science. Their motive was not exploitation, but to make the world better for humans. One abbot in a monastery rejoiced to bring in a water wheel that mechanically milled grain so that back-breaking labor could be reduced. In modern vernacular, we say, work smarter, not harder. They also used science to combat disease. It was driven by the idea of healing a broken world because disease did not exist in the Garden of Paradise. I think the biblical imagery is very helpful, but recognize that many people are not Christians. I would love to find a way to translate these ideas into a dream. Let's say an American dream, or the dream of any nation, that people from diverse backgrounds can adopt to create a better world. A careful reading of Scripture reveals that the Garden of Paradise was only a small area of the earth. The mandate was to spread paradise throughout the earth as humans extended their dominion past the original borders of the garden. Their calling was to turn the world into a garden of paradise. To this end, they were given work and family. Many people see politics as a negative, but if we properly understand the garden, the family is the first government people experience, and politics are involved. When families multiply, the need for good government and politics are necessary for human flourishing. To create a better world, we have to believe that we can create forms of government and laws that lead to human flourishing. Government exists to serve the people, not the other way around. This is central to a vision of liberty. Law, government, and politics must serve people. We need to work to make this a reality. Work is how we cultivate this world to reflect heaven rather than hell. We find dignity and satisfaction when we see our work is contributing to this goal. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and please subscribe to my channel.